Here with us now is Dr. Owais Durrani, an emergency medicine physician based in Houston. Doctor, good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
We have not seen the full report that the Health and Human Services has released yet, but what is your reaction from this exclusive reporting we're getting from the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, I think initially when I saw this, I think it's going to cause a lot of unnecessary fear and panic, unfortunately, added on to the other things that are happening in public health. The thing I want to lead with is, once again, this is a report, so we don't know exactly what's going to be in it. But from everything that the Wall Street Journal reported, looks like it's looking at a bunch of observational studies. We can never find causal linkages between two things when you look at observational studies. So there's no new information here. There was no quote unquote gold standard science done, which would be a randomized control trial over the last few months. And so that is the headline I want people to focus on. There's no new information. This is something that the medical community and people outside the medical community have looked at and discussed for decades. And yeah, that's what I would lead with.
HHS is responding. They said this in a statement to us, to NewsNation, quote, "We are using gold standard science to get to the bottom of America's unprecedented rise in autism rates. Until we release the final report, any claims about its contents are nothing more than speculation." So, Doc, what do you make of that response? And what are you hoping to see in that final report when it does come out?
Yeah, so gold standard science, as I kind of alluded to, is a randomized control trial. What that means is you take a large group of people, you randomly put one into group A, one into group B, and then you look at variables. So for example, if I was creating an experiment and one I would, not expose any mother to Tylenol and one I would. And then you look at the outcomes over years and decades and see what the results are. Obviously, that could not be done in the last few months. And so I would refute that with saying that is not gold standard science. The other thing is, why hasn't a study like that been done? That would be cruel. In pregnancy, there are very few medications that a mother can use for pain control. Tylenol is one of the widely safe medications that we can and recommend and use in those situations. So saying that a mother would have to go through an entire pregnancy without any type of pain control, that would be very, very cruel.
The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists said this, quote, "Pregnant patients should not be frightened away from the many benefits of acetaminophen, which is safe and one of the few options pregnant people have for pain relief," saying pretty much what you just told me, Doc. You tell us you're very comfortable prescribing Tylenol. Are you warning pregnant women about the possibility of this, of autism in their child if they're pregnant?
Yeah, not yet, right? I look to these societies for, their science and their high degree of gold standard science, essentially, and ACOG has not changed their recommendations. As you kind of alluded to, Tylenol is probably one of the most commonly used medications and prescribed medications by myself. I recommend it to everyone from children to elder adults. It has a good safety profile. Now, like every medication does have some side effects, and so you should always talk to your doctor about whether you should be taking a medication or not. The other thing I'll kind of point out is that if a pregnant mother comes to me and they have a fever is also very harmful to a developing fetus. It is also, there's also some observational studies, once again, not gold standard science, but observational studies that link it to potential higher rates of autism. And so the fever in that case is worse. It can also lead to things like miscarriages and birth defects. And so everything is a risk versus benefit discussion.
As a doctor, what is your advice for anyone who is concerned right now about using Tylenol, especially pregnant women?
Yeah, so I would say don't panic. Talk to your doctor if you have any questions. The second thing I would say is, as of now, there's no new information or anything that has been overlooked, and so don't take this as like breaking news. We have found something new. And then the third thing I would say is there is actually a study that was published in JAMA last year, and it looked at 2.5 million children for about a 25-year period. And in that case, once again, they did not find any type of causal linkage between Tylenol or acetaminophen use and autism. And so I would say, obviously it's very good to follow the news and look at what updates we have in the medical literature and world. But I would say talk to your doctor if you have questions. And as of now, there's no new information that we have found over the last, couple months.
Don't panic. Talk to your doctor. Dr. Owais Durrani, thank you for clearing this up for us.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.